join as we get started. So I will try to capture those names at the end of the presentation before we get started with the Q&A piece. And if I don't call your name, that's because I do see it on the screen already or I've already captured it. So we'll go through the process of capturing names again once the presentation has completed. Also, just want to remind you all that this meeting is being recorded. And we will provide a link of the recorded meeting following this meeting, which will be available on the dcha.us site. Also, the meeting, right now, we're going to mute everyone's line. And then we'll go ahead and unmute one by one. We'll go ahead and unmute one by one as we go through the Q&A and comment period at the end of the meeting. Just as a reminder, because of the amount of residents that are on the line and just to keep in the interest of time, we are asking that you limit your questions to 2 to 3 minutes so that we can have the opportunity to hear from everyone on the line. This is a RAD related meeting, so we really would hope to keep all questions around the RAD presentation and any comments about any current work orders or any personal items or issues that you speak with your property manager, Ms. Berry, offline. She will be providing her telephone number in the comment, or excuse me, the chat section, so that you're able to reach out to her. And just please do keep in mind that because the meeting is recorded, we do want to limit the amount of personal information that is provided over this WebEx video. So with that, again, thank you. We will capture everyone that is on the call at the end of the meeting, if you so wish to be have your name attached to the attendance log. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Alex Moore. Thank you.
Thank you, LaShawn. So we're going to go through a short presentation. I'll be leading most of it, and I'll be kicking the presentation over to a few of my colleagues as well to cover certain aspects. And this presentation is to cover the basics of the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, or RAD, and its impact upon Potomac Gardens and our general ideas and thoughts for the Potomac Gardens project as much as we know today. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll kick us off with slide number 1. My computer is going slowly. One moment.
And Alex, just real quickly before you get started, I just wanted to remind folks too that you all should have received the packet with all of the presentation information that you're seeing on the screen. So if you're following along, not on a WebEx video, and you're following along by landline or mobile phone, you can follow along in the packet that you received, and it'll have the presentation. And then Alex will try to make sure that he reads either the page number or the title, the slide title, so that you're able to follow along at home.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that reminder. It's important to do that. So this is page number 2 if you're following along on paper, slide number 2. It doesn't have a label on it for a number, but it does say Rental Assistance Demonstration Agenda. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to recap the August meeting and then talk about why RAD, why would we consider RAD, and what is it? And then we're going to talk a little bit about Potomac Gardens Senior and Family Mid-Rise. This is the Family Mid-Rise meeting, but we're going to talk about them together a little bit and then talk individually about Family Mid-Rise. We're going to do an overview of the relocation process. We're going to have a presentation by our Office of Resident Services on the services that are available to residents currently today. We're going to talk about the resident engagement process, and LaShawn Douglas is going to talk about the COVID-19 considerations relative to that resident engagement process. We're going to then talk about next steps. What are the next steps from here, from today, going forward on this process? And just as a reminder, DCHA's mission is to preserve, manage, and develop quality affordable housing for extremely low through moderate income households, foster sustainable communities, and cultivate human capital opportunities for residents to improve their lives. Now I'd like to ask the property manager to give us a quick overview on the recap from our August meeting. There were some management issues that were addressed between then and now. Is Ms. Berry on?
Afternoon. You all, during our August RAD meeting, we had three scheduled extermination requests. Those requests was handled on August the 31st. We addressed public safety concerns regarding the first floor closure of the restroom. We also had a open work order for the leak complaint that was handled. We are still resolving open leak and pest services complaints.
Thank you very much. So property management will continue to address these open tickets and ensure resident complaints are addressed, and a Q&A handout was provided to all residents. So now let's go to slide number 3 and talk about why would we apply for HUD's RAD program for Potomac Gardens. The federal government does not provide enough funding to make the improvements that residents of public housing deserve. RAD is an option to obtain more sustainable funding choices for public housing authorities and improve the public housing property by converting it from a Section 9 or public housing contract to a Section 8 contract and funding stream. So what that means is public housing is what's called Section 9. That's what we currently operate Potomac Gardens as. By converting through the RAD program to a Section 8 or Housing Choice Voucher Program subsidy, we can leverage the value of the building and the potential future income to get further money from private sources and other charitable sources to add to our own resources to do major improvements on the building and rehab the building to the level that, frankly, you deserve as residents. And just as a reminder, DCHA estimates its capital needs at $2.5 billion. That's across the entire portfolio of over 40 properties in the DC Housing Authority portfolio of public housing. And so our needs are significant. And just for a reference point, last year, the Housing and Urban Development Department of HUD gave us just a little over $20 million in total capital. So that's not a whole lot when you think about 2.5 billion. And so we need to raise significant money, not just from HUD, but also from district sources and other sources to address the capital needs of Potomac Gardens and the other sites in our portfolio. RAD is a HUD program that allows DCHA to fund major building improvements and stabilize federal funding for the future. I'm now on slide 4. And this has no resident displacement, no loss of housing benefits, and no change in the rent calculation of 30% of adjusted gross income. The one exception to that, there's this asterisk at the end. The one exception is if you're currently paying a flat or ceiling rent, there would be an adjustment to 30% of your adjusted gross. So if you need further guidance on that, please talk to your property manager and we can provide you guidance as to how that's done, but it's done over a period of years so as to be gradual and not impact you too much. But the ultimate answer to the question of what are you going to pay in rent after the RAD conversion, it's 30% of your adjusted gross income. Now I'm on slide 5, RAD facts. RAD stands for Rental Assistance Demonstration Program. It was actually founded in 2012 by HUD during the Obama administration. HUD crafted this federal program as a way to fill the growing gap between decreasing federal funding for capital and subsidy for operations of public housing and the increasing capital needs of public housing units. They recognized, in other words, that their funding allocations for capital were not keeping up with the capital needs of an aging housing stock in the public housing portfolio. And they let public housing authorities apply for RAD to convert those buildings to housing choice vouchers so that we can leverage private dollars as a way of bringing additional money into our projects. And that allows us to then spend larger sums of money to fix the projects to the level that, we would consider to be a state of good repair. And because federal funding is often not enough to provide for the high upkeep costs of existing properties, RAD allows a public housing authority to move away from the federal annual contributions contract, which is the way that public housing is funded, to a Section 8 housing choice voucher assistance. This makes it possible to obtain funding from private and alternative sources, as I said, to improve the capital needs of buildings. Slide 6. So how does RAD work? Well, RAD allows the Public Housing Authority to work with partners who want to invest in building improvements. And this could give DCHA the opportunity to borrow money for the improvements, to seek bond issuance for the improvements, such as 4% or 9% low-income housing tax credits, to work with philanthropic or charitable partners who wish to contribute or assist us, excuse me, or to take on a development partner or investor as a way of helping to leverage our capacity to do major rehabilitation work. Slide 7. What would DCHA do with RAD, specifically in the case of Potomac Gardens family? So specifically in the case of Potomac Gardens family, we see a building that was built in the 1960s and has had only moderate levels of rehab since then and capital maintenance. And so we anticipate a fairly significant amount of work is necessary at Potomac Gardens family once we get our physical needs assessment completed this year. And the scope of work will likely include all of the things on this list. Apartment renovations like kitchens, bathrooms, and new finishes. Updated building systems like electrical, plumbing, fire suppression, fire safety, mechanical, heating and air conditioning, all of that. Energy efficiency measures, such as insulating the building or making energy efficiency improvements to allow the building to operate more efficiently. New windows, a new roof, work on the building exterior to improve the building exterior envelope, the walls around your units. Enhanced community spaces. Are there things that you as residents see that you need or want in terms of enhanced amenities in your building? This is your opportunity to speak to us and tell us what you would like to see in your building going forward. And finally, improve building security, such as cameras, lighting, site lighting, other things like that, improvements to the way the security desk and other things work in the lobby. All of that can be funded with RAD. And as I said, we're looking for your feedback as residents because you are on the ground all the time. You're there every day. We really want your feedback on what you think the building needs in terms of future building improvements. The other nice thing about RAD is that RAD works really well for rehab, better for rehab than for redevelopment. And so what DCHA would do with RAD is renovate the 700 family building with the same number of apartments as currently, with the same configuration of units, same bedroom count and everything. We would do phased construction to minimize moves and what is called an in-place rehab, which means we would be doing phased renovations, vertically tier by tier and moving people within the building to units within the building that are currently vacant. That's the plan at this point. So that you stay in the building in a temporary apartment for maybe 4 to 6 months until your apartment is fully renovated and ready to be reoccupied, and then we would move you back. So just in summary, in the case of Potomac Gardens Senior and Family Mid-Rise, revised HUD, RAD funding from HUD under Section 8 is a more stable funding source and capable of servicing future maintenance needs of properties. Next slide is slide 10. It says Potomac Gardens. You'll see up on the right-hand upper part of the slide, there's an aerial photograph, and it shows Potomac Gardens. The entire magenta outline of the whole block is all Potomac Gardens. The part on the bottom is the family walk-ups, and then up at the top, you see 2 buildings in orange. That's the senior buildings, or senior building, they're connected. And then the blue building is the family mid-rise. So what are your rights as a resident? Slide 11. You are guaranteed the right to return with no rescreening, full relocation assistance if you need to move temporarily during construction, which means, just to define that, that means that if you need to move, we, DCHA, hire the movers. If you need assistance in packing your stuff, we will provide that. The movers will pack your stuff for you if you wish. If you do not wish for that, that's fine. If you don't want people touching your stuff, then you can, if you wish to pack it yourself, you can do that as well. If you need any assistance in terms of relocating your tenant paid utilities, such as the phone, internet, cable TV, anything like that, we will take care of all of that. We provide allowances for that, so we'll cover all those expenses so you don't have to go out of pocket for any reconnection fees. The resident councils will be funded in the same way under RAD as they are under public housing. And the resident rent, as I said before, is based on 30% of adjusted income. And again, with the exception of rents that are currently set at a floor or ceiling rent. And so if you have that condition or think you have that condition, please speak with your property manager and she can direct your question to us and we can give you further information. Now I'd like to turn it over to our ROTC representatives to talk about the relocation process.
Thank you, Alex. This is Deborah Jackson with Mobility Services. I am the mobility supervisor here at DC Housing Authority. And myself, Katrina Jeter, Brittany Holloway, and a team of mobility specialists will be working with you guys in the near future. But right now, we would like to talk about just the relocation process and the 6 steps that we will take throughout this relocation. Number 1, DCHA's relocation team works in partnership with residents about future development and relocation plans, which include information informing residents on phasing and schedule move dates. So that's why we're coming to you right now for these set of meetings, and we'll continue to come to you to provide updates of scheduled meetings and what your anticipated move date would be. Number 2, after renovation schedules are finalized, impacted residents have been informed, DCHA's relocation team completes relocation surveys to assess special needs and circumstances. So what that means is the team, an individual from DC Housing Authority, will, depending on where we are with COVID-19 and the interaction that we can have with you, either face-to-face, socially distanced, or on the phone, we will come to you and ask certain questions with a survey about your needs, your individual needs. So we're not going to get together to ask a lot of questions in open areas, because we're going to be asking certain questions like, do you have animals? Do you need grab bars for your new unit? Do you need wheelchair accessibility? Do you need other services to transfer to another unit? Like, do you have caseworkers or, again, anything that you need, we will ask on the survey to make the transition a lot easier for you and your family. Number 3, DC Housing Authority's relocation team will work with each household to prepare for relocation. We'll provide necessary packing materials and notify households of upcoming move dates. We do not want you to have to worry and go home tonight and start packing. That's not our intention. Our intention is just to really inform you that this is coming, but we will give you all the packing materials. That's boxes, tape, wrap, anything that you need to pack your belongings up. Now, you might say, well, what if I can't, undo the bed? What if I can't take apart the couch? That's what the survey is for. So if you need packing assistance or, things to be taken apart, that's when you would let us know at the survey that you would need someone to come in and assist you with packing. Number 4, DC Housing Authority's relocation team will be present on the day of your move to supervise activity and ensure all relocation needs are satisfied. So we want to make sure that on the day of the move, a DC Housing Authority relocation team member is there present at the move time, just in case something comes up or you or the movers have a question. We are there front and center to answer any questions that need to be answered. Number 5, DC Housing Authority's relocation team will hire a quality moving company to move families. Services include the moving of belongings, dismantling and reassembling all furniture, and packing assistance if applicable. So again, we've worked with these moving companies for over 5 years. We've built relationships with them, trust them, and so we make sure that the individuals that are moving your furniture is someone that we definitely trust and put our faith into, that they will move your stuff appropriately. Number 6, DC Housing Authority's relocation team will relocate families from current unit to temporary or permanent unit where applicable, pay relocation costs. So that's cable turnoff, that's phone hookup, and then of course stay in touch with the families. Somebody from DC Housing Authority will be in touch with you from the beginning, the middle of this process, and of course the end of the process when you're relocated, either in your newly permanent unit or your temporary unit going back to your permanent unit. So at no point in time will there be a lack of communication with you. Thank you, and I hope you have a nice night. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Deborah. Now I'd like to ask a representative from the Office of Resident Services to talk about the services available.
Hi, thanks, Alex. Hello, everyone. My name is Ebony Borden, and I am a Family Self-Sufficiency Coordinator within Office of Resident Services, where the manager is Ronald Fisher and the director is Mr. Brian Harris. Today, I just want to highlight a few of the wraparound services that we house within the Office of Resident Services and the services that we provide. And throughout this presentation, I just want to recommend, or we strongly suggest and encourage residents to connect with your assigned community navigator, who is Mr. Ronnie Friday. His number and his email are listed. If you would just connect with him, and he will direct you to the appropriate services within our department. We do and are excited to continue to add services as the departments continue to grow. The first part of Office of Resident Services that I would like to highlight is workforce development, our WDI Spotlight. What I would like to talk about that program, a lot of people just assume that all they do is job development, but this program also provides skill building, UDC certification courses. They also provide certifications in the area of Sherman-Williams painters courses and licenses for first aid and CPR. So they do a host of other things in relation to job development, work capacity, skill building within WDI workforce development. So if you're interested in that, please make sure you contact Mr. Friday so that he can connect you appropriately. Next, we also have the Family Self-Sufficiency Department, where we provide case management services via self-sufficiency coordinators. And within this department, we also are building ourselves to provide not just a pathway to home ownership, but also pathways for success in the areas of employment and education as well. So this department is continuously building. And right now, our main focus are for those who want to become homeowners. We provide information and referrals for those who would like preparation for home ownership, financial literacy, credit counseling, things of that nature. And we're also excited to really bring everybody on board to just, maybe you don't want to own a home, but you want to learn more about owning a home. We look forward to working with you. So again, if you want to talk about self-sufficiency that are goal-oriented and cater to your family, reach out to Ron Friday and he will connect you to the FSS program. If you're looking for workforce capacity building, certainly reach out to Mr. Ron Friday and he will connect you with the WDI program. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Thank you. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about RAD resident engagement. So prior to submitting an application to HUD for what's called a RAD CHAP, that's a commitment for a housing assistance payment, DCHA provides residents with a resident information notice. You should all by now be in receipt of your resident information notice, or RIN, to convey general written information on potential project plans and basic resident rights under RAD. If you don't think you have the RIN, or if you lost it, or if you need another copy, please let us know either in the Q&A or the chat, and we will make sure you get a copy printed out and sent to you. DCHA then conducts at least 2 resident meetings. This is the second meeting for Potomac family. We had a meeting for senior this afternoon, and this is the second of the 2 resident meetings prior to our anticipated bringing this resolution to the Board of Commissioners of DCHA in October. So the next step is, as I said, DCHA must secure Board of Commissioners approval to submit the RAD application to HUD. Along with that application, DCHA will submit a written summary of all resident comments and questions and the DCHA responses to the comments received. So everything that you ask us tonight, everything that you asked us before, everything that we've recorded as part of the minutes of these meetings, and all of our responses that go with those minutes are going to be given to you in writing. And they're also going to be submitted to HUD so that HUD has a record of everything that we said to you, everything that you said to us, and everything that was presented. After the RAD CHAP is approved, which would be sometime probably next year if this goes forward to HUD, there will be additional meetings. DCHA's next step after getting the CHAP approved, the commitment to housing assistance payment, is submitting a financing plan to HUD. HUD wants to see how we're going to make the building improvements and how we're going to operate the building and how that financing plan lays out. So we would hold additional meeting. Pardon me. We're going to hold an additional meeting with residents before submitting the financing plan, and other meetings may be necessary if plans change or if DCHA requires an extension of time. And DCHA will ensure effective communication with persons with disabilities and language barriers. This means making meetings accessible to various folks with various types of disabilities, which may limit their communication. And DCHA complies with the DC language access laws. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ms. LaShawn Douglas to talk a little bit about our COVID-19 HUD guidance on RAD and our resident engagement.
Thanks, Alex. And we just want to thank everyone again for being able to join virtually this evening. Obviously, we would have loved to hold these meetings in person to have some more engagement with you all. But under the COVID-19 pandemic and with DC being under an emergency order, we are prohibited in public gatherings. So we had to adjust, and we've done so by being able to hold these virtual meetings via WebEx, which we've made accessible to those who even have limited technology. Folks are able to join through a landline, and we are providing the copies of the PowerPoints, which some of you may be reading along with in your homes. We also still are following kind of the same protocol we would if these meetings were in person, with maintaining an attendance log of resident participation. We also have accommodated those with limited English proficiency needs. For example, those Spanish-speaking residents we have translated, and other residents that speak other language, we have also made provisions to translate for them as well as those that are hearing and visually impaired. We also are doing a few more touch points just to make sure that we have engaged properly with residents, providing pre-meeting calls as well as post-meeting calls, and then also providing post-meeting documentation, which includes any updates to the PowerPoint deck, as well as a transcription of the questions and answers asked by you all and the DCHA staff responses. We also have provided an email box and a voicemail box where we've received questions in advance that we're able to also add responses to and then provide back to the residents. Thanks, Alex. Back to you.
Thank you, LaShawn. So we have one last slide, and then we're done with the presentation, and we'll open up to questions and answers. So what can you expect from us as next steps? Residents will receive written answers to questions posed before and at this meeting. For property-specific questions, you can always contact Ms. Rochelle Berry at rberry, R-B-E-R-R-Y, at dchousing.org, or at her phone number, 202-543-6313. For relocation questions, please contact Katrina Jeter at kjeter, K-J-E-T-E-R, at dchousing.org, or at 202-926-7004. If you have any general questions about RAD or about the transformation plan, you can call area code 202-996-8526 or email any questions to transformationplan@dchousing.org. I'm going to put all of this information into the chat so that it'll be recorded as part of the meeting recording. And we look forward to working with all of you on this very important initiative. Thank you very much for listening to this hopefully brief presentation. I didn't do a time check. It's about 30 minutes in. So thank you very much for listening to us, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Douglas, who will take the questions and answers. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks to all the presenters. It looks like we've had quite a few folks join in by phone. The easiest way to facilitate the Q&A period is to actually grab your name and unmute you all one by one. So we have quite a few callers that have called in, looks like by either landline or mobile line, where we haven't caught your name on the WebEx. So what I'll do is just one by one, I will unmute. I'll call out the first 6 digits of your telephone number because it's all I can see, and I'll try to grab your name, and then I'll remute you, and then we'll go ahead and then we'll start the Q&A period once I've got most of the names here on the attendance log. Again, I'll use that as a way to facilitate the Q&A. And if I don't call your name, it's because I already see it. So thank you in advance for your patience, because this does take a few minutes to get through. So I have a caller. First 6 digits is 202830. Do you want to provide your name for the attendance log and have the opportunity to ask questions? 202830. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and mute this line. 202547. Can you provide your name, please?
Jacqueline Roy.
I'm sorry, you said Jacqueline?
Roy.
Roy, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and mute your line back, Ms. Roy. All right. Then I have a 202718. 202718. Would you like to provide your name?
Leonard Brown?
Leonard Brown?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and mute your line back. All right. Then I have a 202248. You're unmuted. Would you like to provide your name? (202-248).
I thought I heard a very low voice. Sir? Hello?
Sounds like there's some background noise, but I don't hear a voice. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and mute the line. 202910. You're unmuted. 202910. Would you like to provide a name or?
They're still showing up as muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. Unmute. There we go. 202910. Okay, go ahead and mute the line. 202544.
Deborah Watkins. Are you calling the first 3 numbers of the house number? People phone number?
Your telephone number. Yeah, I hear you. You said Deborah Watkins.
Yeah, Deborah Watkins. How you doing?
I'm good, Miss Watkins. How are you?
Fine. I thought that was a code. I said, but that must be the first 3 numbers of the house phone.
You know, I'm only able to see the first 6 digits of the telephone number, so
Yeah.
I'm just calling.
No, what happens is we only see the first digits of the phone number. That's all we get.
Oh, okay, baby. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna call on you in just a moment for Q&A. Thank you. All right, I have a 202553.
That's Tobias. That's me.
Yes,
Gerald
sir.
Tobias.
Say it one more time.
I'm in the seniors building.
Okay, what's your name?
Gerald Tobias.
Gerald Tobias. Thank you, Mr. Tobias.
How long do we have in the seniors building?
I'm sorry?
How long do we have in the seniors building? I'm in the seniors building.
Okay, in terms of the RAD?
In terms of what? How long?
How long?
This gonna happen?
Oh, we'll get to that later, but I'll just give you the short answer. We're talking the process from here to get to the construction, probably 1.5 to 2 years. So we're telling you way in advance of when we're doing the work.
Okay.
Okay.
So in about a year, I start getting some boxes.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tobias. Okay. All right. And again, I'm just going to try to capture your names, and then I'll go back down the Q&A. I haven't asked for it. Where did I ask for it? I haven't seen it. Okay. 202322.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. What's your name?
Natasha Silver.
Thank you, Miss Silver. I'm going to go ahead and mute your line back.
Okay.
All right, I have a 202847.
Murray Jefferson.
Murray Jefferson. Got you. Thank you, sir. I'm going to go ahead and mute your line back. Okay, I have a 202340. 202340.
Yolanda Thomas.
Yolanda Thomas. Okay. Thank you, Miss Thomas. I got you covered. And then I see I'm going to call this number again. I don't know if I got an answer or not. From 202644.
Yes, you know who it is.
Who is this?
This is Miss Leonard.
Hello, how are you?
I'm here.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you. I got you covered. All right. And then I need 202706.
Yes, that's me. My name is Timothy Roundtree.
Thank you, Mr. Roundtree. All right. 202322. Do you want to provide your name?
Rachel Thompson.
Rachel Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. And then 202807.
Timothy Donaldson.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. All right, 202270.
Lisa Robinson.
Hello, Miss Robinson.
How you doing?
Doing okay. All right, I'm going to meet you back for just a moment. All right, I'm going to try the last three numbers that I have on here just one more time. I have a 202910. Okay, and then a 202248.
Yes, Harold Coleman.
Thank you. Say the first name for me one more time.
Harold Coleman.
Harold Coleman.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. And then I have a 202830.
Carol Proctor.
Thank you, Miss Proctor. Carol. Okay, and as mentioned, if I didn't call your name, it's because I have you, I already see your name here. So I'm just gonna go down the attendance list, and you can ask your question or provide your comment, and then a DCHA staff will answer based off of the kind of, the area of the question, okay? So I see a Idawa. Do you have any questions or comments?
I didn't sign in. You didn't call my name. This is Anne Marie Brown.
Anne Marie Brown. Okay, I think
PG. It came up PG when this is like asking me a question. This is Anne Marie Brown. It should be AB, but it's PG. I guess I typed the wrong thing in.
Okay, okay, Anne Marie Brown. I'll add this. Thank you. I see you.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for the clarification. All right. So, Mr. I'm sorry, I see A. Idawa. Do you have any questions or comments?
Or Adawa?
Idawa. Okay.
What? Hello?
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Angela Copeland, do you have any questions or comments?
I did have a comment, but the gentleman had already answered it. And the question was, how long would it take for the process to begin? And he already stated it may take like a year up to 2 years.
Yeah.
So he answered it for me. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you.
Ms. Copeland. Okay. Commissioner Van Gossering.
It's in the queue.
Okay, you put yours in the queue. Okay, let me go ahead and jump to those. All right, I'll just read one, and if respective staff just jump in there. One, residents request vouchers that do not want to participate in RAD. Is that a comment, Ms. Commissioner, or is that just a statement? Is that a statement or question?
Can you?
Yes.
Vaguely. It's low. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
You muted yourself. I'm gonna unmute you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, she muted herself again.
Okay.
Got it.
The reason why I'm constantly putting in the queue about residents are to be a challenge. We are going to challenge. And we're going to challenge this based on the fact that, A, we understand, first and foremost, I requested how much in dollars and cents is Potomac Gardens with Latin Square, and that has not been presented to either the seniors or 700. And the reason for that, because throughout the city, seeing how Hope 6 had worked, and as Alex know, I don't make the same mistakes. I make new mistakes.
Okay.
And in doing so, being ahead of the game, Krista Spain, who I've already reached out to ask her to recruit landlords, would take what is called at-risk credit residents. Those are residents that have employment history regardless of how much they're making. Something that could be worked out, because as residents, we still have a right to an attorney. And we are knowing that this is our RAD engagement. And being that I've been in operation for 14 years, and being that I've been a director of DCAG for 14 years, I do understand the strategy very well. So now we already have that lined up. Now, we don't know whether or not that can happen, but what we're the housing authority with my constituents of 700, because I already said I represent the minority. This is not a new plan. Maybe it's a new plan for some people on this line, but this is not a new plan at all. This is a plan. And the Housing Authority have many statements on records from the time that the Honorable Miss Jacqueline West lived here, that this is still the plan. And with that plan, the 2020 Resident Council has accomplished many of the tasks that monies will no longer have to be looked for. For instance, ditto the development company. 2020 Resident Council, Alex No, made sure that that $40,000 came to Potomac Gardens without us being able to request any more monies based to the strategy of a 1 or 1.5 year planning. So we did the outer fence. So now our opponents of our neighborhood is no longer calling it the fence, the prison. It has now a gated community. We also probably, and as you know, Alex, we made sure that not only 700 and the senior roof were done, we made sure that all of 12th, 13th, and I Street roof were done as well.
Okay.
So in all that saying, stop. Ms. Douglas, with all that being said, and laying this out so that it can be in the minutes and in the record, so that Trump administration will understand that the minority of us, remember, words are important, the minority of us, we are prepared to go in front of Congress to ask for these vouchers because we're tired of selling our land off cheap. We also know, Alex, that since 1990, the high rises in public housing across the nation is to be demolished. Potomac Gardens, with all of our past presidents, were all, and then as you see today, they left the path open for me to be able to live today to continue their plight, meaning that these two don't go down, because without these two high-rise and no other high-rise building, my single member district to pass the zoning laws. And not speaking race, you have people of color. People of color are sticking together, and we do understand that we are the minority, but in this RAD would be design residents. At the same time, I'm speaking as because as a matter of fact, to be fair, I'm not even going to vote with the other 10 commissioners to get this application in because of this interest.
Okay.
Minority. We'll have the cycle as RAD.
So I can take a couple of these questions in your chat. I think we owe you a written response to these, so I want to make sure we give you that. But it's the number one is residents request vouchers that do not want to participate in RAD. So I guess that means, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Van Gossler, and I know you will, that if a resident does not want to participate in this RAD conversion as a resident of Potomac Gardens, they would get a voucher. That's what you would like to see happen, correct? That's okay. So right now, the RAD program does not administratively have a process to give a voucher through a RAD conversion. So we welcome your input through this process to try to help us figure that out, but I don't have a way to do that with the current process through HUD. And we don't have any additional voucher authority at the moment to be able to do that. So I think we need a further conversation on that point. Your comment number 2, unit compliance would locate from 2-bedroom 700 to 1-bedroom senior building. There are vacancies in both buildings. And so theoretically that would be possible, yes, if someone needed to be right-sized. There will be a limit because there are only a limited number of vacancies in both buildings. And so there will be a point if enough people need to be right-sized where we may exceed the number. But I'll take the point. Your third comment is do not lease vacant units at 700. And I think that your point there is to try to keep those units open so that when we do the rehab, if we need to relocate, people stay in the building. I think that's a very noble idea. I don't control, I'm an employee of DC Housing Authority. I don't have the decision-making power to make that happen. But I think as a commissioner, you probably do. You have more influence over that than I do. So I'll leave that in your hands to advocate. And I see you've got it recorded here. So thank you very much for that. The questions about at-risk resident vouchers, virtual conference learning, and resident council, I don't have an answer for those. So if anybody else from DCHA would like to take a shot at those.
No, Allison, and if we don't have a response today, we can add the question to the Q&A and get back with.
Okay, we'll provide a written response for those questions.
And also, Alex, the question, I see a few more questions from Commissioner, so I'm just going to go ahead and read these out. Explain what is unit compliance and what is flat rent and rent ceiling.
I'm not sure I know what the first question even is, but the flat rent, I think we can answer that. Is Andrea Powell on? Andrea, would you like to explain the legal issues of flat rent versus rent calculated on income?
Sure. This is Andrea Powell. Good evening, everyone. As I think we have in our slide presentation, Alex has indicated that everyone will continue to pay 30% of their adjusted income as rent. However, there's one exception for anyone who is paying, and you probably know who you are, a different rent calculation. It's called a flat or ceiling rent. then what we will do is work with you and, work through the property manager and also recertification to figure out what 30% will equal. And on the RAD conversion, over time, it'll get phased in, most likely over 5 years. So those who are not paying 30% may know, but if you're not sure, then you're paying ceiling rent, can check in with the property manager or send a note to the transformation plan email, and we can help get that answer for anyone who still has that question. So HUD provides that in certain instances that you can pay what's called a ceiling rent. But in RAD, because it is based on project-based vouchers, everybody will need to pay 30%. But what it allows us to do is phase in that 30% over time.
The next question is, what is bonded issuance? I don't know that term, so I'm not sure how to answer that one. I'll take the next one. What is the difference between 4% or 9% and why? There are two different types of federal low-income housing tax credits. There's what's called the 4% low-income housing tax credit, and then there's 9%. 4% are a wonderful tool because they are granted to any applicant who demonstrates threshold compliance. So if we go into DC Housing Finance Agency and request 4% tax credits, as long as we meet all their criteria, we get them automatically as long as there's capacity within their issuing authority. So they're not competitive. We don't have to compete against anybody to get them. 9% credits are a higher amount of money. Just based on 4 versus 9, you can see that 9% would be a larger amount of money. The 9% credits are competitive, and that means that we would have to compete against other developers and other landlords in the city for a very small pot of money. And so the 9% credits are generally not available to us because we have to compete against the large developers, and we don't necessarily compete well against them. And it's not certain in any given year that we'd be granted a 9% allocation. And so we tend to default toward 4% because 4%, we can do it. As long as there's capacity within the issuing authority to grant that money, we can get the 4% as long as we meet threshold. So that's the difference. It does give a lesser amount of money to the project, but it's more certain. And then I don't know, I don't have an answer for the human capital opportunities. I think that might be a question best directed to ORS, and we could answer that offline if no one wants to tackle it on the call.
Yes, Commissioner, this is Ron Fisher. We're going to address it in writing to you later once I get more information.
You're unmuted, Commissioner. Okay. All right.
Hey, LaShawn, this is Dawn Boyd. Just had a real quick question. If Ms. Van Gosfried can just specify or clarify for me, when she's asking about what is unit compliance, is she speaking of from the perspective of a lease? She's muted. I can't hear Van Gosfried.
Okay, he can hear you now.
You're absolutely correct. This is what unit compliance is. Here's an example. I live in a 2-bedroom. I don't have nobody on my lease but myself. I am not in unit compliance. Therefore, the question would be, so since I'm not in unit compliance and I choose to move to the senior building, can I? One thing for sure, you would not stay in a 2-bedroom unit. So therefore, you will have to move to a 1-bedroom unit. So therefore, will I be able to find my own one bedroom unit in public housing? Suppose I don't want to go to Hopkins. I may want to go to Carlsboro. I may want to go to the Regency. I may want to go to a senior Sibley. Whether or not the residents of this particular RAD will have that opportunity. Because we do know we will be doing unit compliance.
Commissioner, this is Andrea Powell. How are you? Do you mean during the relocation period, or do you mean when we move people back?
What I mean, let's get real with the strategy. I mean, like right now. If you're already telling me that in 1 year and a half that it's a possibility we're going to get the RAD, well, we should all know this. Everybody been wanting Capitol Hill. So that's not even going to be a question. The hard work is going to be satisfying my constituents, and most of them have lived here from day one. And this building would not exist. The 2 subways would not exist. So we going to look into the concept that we have been investors in this community. So with that said, and we want to know that too, because in continue to planning, and we have to plan 2 ways: politically, strategically, and federally. And with the housing authority allegedly empowering residents. So one of the ways you're empowering us is, number one, through gentrification. RAD is also the only opportunity that you have to be able to either transfer, because we don't want the units. We want the units to stay as they are, because we also are aware that the housing authority is under lawsuit, and it's called the waiting list. And my constituents, we have a lot of empathy for those who are on the waiting list. However, the waiting list is not going to bump us from a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. It's called a moral perspective. It's called principles. It's called integrity. It's called how you're going to work with. Because keep in mind, we are not the property in.
So we will be looking to get people into the right size units, both for their transfers as they return to the site. But we'll be working closely with the property manager and everyone to plan that out.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for chiming in. We're going to go ahead and go to the next caller. I have Miss Anne-Marie Brown. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm fine. I'm just listening.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, we can hear you. Thank you. Cantina, excuse me. Duke. Do you have any questions or comments? Yes.
Okay. So I want to ask what Ms. Van Gogh was saying, as far as, so if when they do start the RAD program, if we are in a 2-bedroom and we move out, and when they move us back in, so we won't get our same unit, we'll be moved into a different unit.
Alex or Andrea, do you want to take that?
So Alex, I don't know if there's a if we're trying to move people back to their same unit, depending on what size. I don't know if the phasing, how it's going to work.
I mean, that's ultimately what we'd like to do, but there are a couple of nuances to that. One of them we've already talked about, which is if you're currently overhoused, you'd be obligated, and it's not even our choice. It's actually a HUD policy that we right size the unit of the correct size. We have to look to do that. The other issue is, as we're doing the renovations, we know moving is difficult one time. It's even more difficult twice, and it can be very annoying and disruptive to your life. If we get to a vacant unit in one of our phases, and there's a unit that's become fully renovated and it's simply vacant and available, there will be opportunities on a limited basis for someone to simply leave the apartment they're in and go directly into a newly renovated unit. That'll happen on a limited basis because there's only a handful of vacant units perhaps, but there will be those opportunities. And I think for certain folks that may be preferable, even though they may lose their address and have to change their address, you move right into a one-time move to a brand new renovated unit in your building. So is that possible?
Okay, and I also want to know about the flat rent or the ceiling rent. So, according to my income, I was paying, I don't want to say market rent, but I was paying the most. Okay, so the market rent for the unit that I had. So when they redo it, that means that I would be paying more.
I don't know your specific situation. I think what I was going to suggest is don't tell us too much about your personal details. This is a recorded meeting, so yeah.
Right.
I don't know what you're paying relative to your income, and I don't think we should talk about it on the phone. But if you'd like to speak with your property manager, I think she's on tonight. I'm looking to see if
not saying about my personal. I'm just saying, is that what that means? Like with the flat rent or ceiling rent, that means that it's a potential for my rent to go up.
Yeah, I think in almost
Even
every
though
case
I was already paying the market rent.
Yeah. So this is Andrea again. Under project-based rules, tenants need to pay 30%. But what we do, and the HUD rules provide this, we would phase it in over five years. So it would not be an immediate jump. It would literally phase in over time. So wouldn't it be like the day after the RAD conversion, you have to go up to 30%? It would be like a fifth. 20%, 20%, 20%. And we work with you to plan that out.
Yeah, per year. So it'd actually be, spaced out over that 5-year period. We realize that people do need to rebudget. If we're doing, if that's happening, that's why they do that gradual increase, because it's obviously, even though it's 30%, it's still a change in your budget for your household. So, but it is part of the program to have everybody's rent calculated based on 30%.
Okay, and my last question is the resident information notice. I didn't receive that.
We'll make note of that, and we'll make sure you get a copy. We'll print one out and send it to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Duke. Okay, now I have Ms. Carol Proctor. Questions or comments?
Yes, ma'am. I want to know if when they go through the process of the RAD, if a person is behind in their rent, would that not keep them from coming back?
It will not keep you from coming back, but I'm sure, even right now, if you're working, anyone who be working with their property manager on any repayment arrangements, but no, it will not keep you from moving back.
Thank you.
I mean, I think in advance, everyone, and we did this in Colorado, making sure everybody is either paid up or under some type of repayment arrangement, and just being current on that. But there's no rescreening. That's one of the good things about RAD. You just need to be in compliance. So if you're living there, you will return.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Ms. Proctor. I have Carolyn Johnson. Questions or comments?
No.
Okay, thank you. Dee Turner. Questions or comments?
Someone else, no REN, has a comment.
Yeah.
I'm sure nobody on this ding dang on property received a REN.
The RENs were mailed, and they were
before the first meeting, right?
So that would have been received in August.
I'm sure they know with. Oh, I gotta do this under me. I will not type under you. Let me type under me. Let me just type under me.
Are you typing your questions, or did you want to ask them? Okay. All right, Ms. Turner, I'm gonna go ahead and mute your line. If you have any more questions, just go ahead and throw them into the chat. Then I have Deborah Watkins. Any questions or comments?
My question was answered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna Leonard. You know what? We may have captured the wrong name. One moment. Okay. One moment. All right, Miss
Donna Leonard.
Leonard, Miss Leonard.
Yeah.
Okay, you have any questions or comments?
I have 3. Actually, several, but I'm not going to. This is our last meeting to speak up about what we feel about RAD, right? And then y'all going to take the next step by yourself as far as having a meeting with HUD.
We're not meeting with HUD. We're not meeting with HUD next. Our next interaction is with the Board of Commissioners, DCHA.
Okay.
Okay.
So will we get feedback on that? About how that meeting worked? Because I know at some point y'all got to go to Ben Carson.
I don't know if Ben Carson's going to see our application or not. I'm not sure it rises to his level, but yeah, we're going to be presenting these projects at an upcoming Board of Commissioners meeting for DCHA. Those meetings, the public portions of those meetings are public, and you can attend those meetings and hear and see for yourself what happens. And we invite you, of course, to always do that. In addition, I believe minutes for those meetings are always recorded, so you will know what happened.
So that's the commissioners meet.
Yeah.
And okay, the next question is, you know, I've been asking for the rent since the first meeting. I haven't received anything. The residential information notice.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you guys take those with you to the meeting?
We mailed them out.
Yeah. They would have been mailed out before that August 25th meeting, but we'll go ahead and re-mail them or hand deliver them to those that indicated they hadn't received them. Occasionally we do get return mail, and so I just can't confirm, who those are. But if you didn't receive one, go ahead and throw it in the comments or let us know when it's your turn, and we'll make sure.
Yeah, I put it in the comments. You know I'm gonna say something. But yeah, it's better when y'all hand deliver because it'll be at the door or something. And okay, my last question is this. For Mr. Mario, how you spell your name? Pronounce your name? Morris?
Morris.
Okay, yeah.
Hi.
Okay, you and DC Housing, y'all together on this, right? So when y'all go to HUD, y'all gonna be still together on this.
So I am DC Housing Authority. I'm a staff member of the DC Housing Authority.
That's what RAD. Y'all together.
No. I work for DC Housing Authority. So does LaShawn. So do a lot of us on this call. So we're all staff of DC Housing Authority. That's I work for the Office of Capital Programs.
Okay.
Just want to be clear. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out what, okay, the demonstration is what y'all do when y'all get here?
Are you asking why is it called a RAD demonstration program?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of what y'all gonna do?
No, not really, no. The rental assistance demonstration program was created. Often what federal agencies do if they start something new is they call it a demonstration program. I don't know why they haven't changed the name, but they never changed the name from when it was created back in 2012. It's been in effect for 8 years. It was created in 2012 during the Obama administration. And it is, it's called the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, but that's just what they call it. That's just the name.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that, but also I know y'all got $54 million already, right?
We received funds. We receive funds virtually every year from DC Council, from the local district of Columbia government. Typically, in the past, that money has come through unallocated local rental assistance, local rent assistance program. And so this year we were lucky enough to get an allocation of $50 million, and it will be applied to the 2021 budget for DCHA. And we were very fortunate to get that. And we have a plan in place, including some work at Potomac Gardens, to allocate those funds and do additional capital work. But 50 million is not 2 billion. And so we still need money to do the major capital improvements, not only for Potomac Gardens, but for all of our over 40 projects.
Yeah,
And
that's why y'all got to come out and start advocating for more money.
Yeah. We're always doing that.
Well, are y'all going to hire?
Hire who?
Like when y'all, if y'all was to get the position, will y'all hire if y'all need people to throw stuff out the units or do extra little things? Are y'all going to hire people from the housing that's in the project?
Yeah, I don't know. There may be somebody else on the phone who can answer that question as to whether we do that. We do have I know we have a ATP, an apprenticeship training program. I don't know if those are all residents of housing who get into that program or not, but maybe somebody can talk about that. Ron, I don't know if you've got any information on that.
Yeah, as far as the ATP or the apprenticeship training program that Alex was referring to, that comes around typically once a year. We usually start the recruitment sometime around the spring, so between late March, early April. And the past couple of years, we've selected anywhere between 30 to 40 residents that we provide not only training opportunities to, but they also receive a stipend. And the idea of it is not necessarily to go ahead and hire permanently these individuals, but just provide transferable skills that in the event that there is an opening within the agency, because they've already been working on the properties, they're familiar not only with the layout, but also with staff, mechanisms, things of that nature within DCHA. Obviously, the odds are stacked a little bit more in their favor to go ahead and get hired permanently if they do apply for that position, but it's not guaranteed, I will say, that they get hired. In addition, in the event that we can't bring on full-time those participants, we do form partnerships with some of our community partners as well as sister government agencies that may be in need of staff members, and we make referrals like that. And again, we don't guarantee any position outside of just guaranteeing opportunity for those that excel within the program.
Oh, you got to go into the program.
Yes, it's a 6-month program.
Okay, thank you for your chivalry, Mr. Morris or Morris. And I appreciate y'all talking to me. I wish I could talk to y'all on a daily basis and let y'all know what's going on with me living in Potomac Gardens. But I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Really
We wish we could be there in person and meet with you in a room, but because of the COVID, we don't. That's just not a thing we can do right now. So that's why we're doing these virtual meetings, and we're sorry for that. But it's to keep everyone safe.
And LaShawn, this is Jose. Sorry, I just wanted to echo something I saw somebody throw in the chat. And Alex, we also have Section 3 targets that we try to meet with every contract that we issue and the work that we do, and that is specifically geared towards our, creating opportunities for residents to do work on our sites as well. So,
yeah. Thank you. And just in regards to the RIN, which is the resident information notice, we did get several of those returned. I was just confirming that several of those were returned. So I have provided the RIN notice to Ms. Berry and to Ms. Boyd, and they, if you indicate today that you did not receive it, they will make sure that they deliver or provide the copies to you all. And then, and it's also available on our website at dcha.us. So you can go to that, and that's the same site you will go to view this meeting and to also have see any meeting materials from today's meeting and August 25th meeting. Okay. So thank you, Ms. Leonard. I'm gonna go ahead and mute your line back. We appreciate your comments and your questions. All right. I have Ms. Farlisha Hill. Questions or comments?
No, Ms. Douglas, that was an accident. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. And then Mr. Frank Muhammad, questions or comments?
No question. No question.
Okay, got it. Thank you, sir. And then I have Jacqueline Roy, questions or comments at this time?
I am disabled. I'm in a two-bedroom unit, but I'm here by myself at the time. But to be moved, and they said to a unit that since someone else is on my lease, to a one-bedroom unit. I am disabled. I have a lot of equipment, such as beds and oxygen and a lot of hospital stuff, which would require me to really need to go from here to another two-bedroom unit, simply because of the standings of that. I will need a live-in homemaker, or will that be accessible for the disabled? Under those
So, Ms. Roy, we will work with you on that. We will work offline with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Roy. James of Shabazz, or Shabazz.
No questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. Miss Kiana Duncan, any questions?
No, I'm listening.
Okay, are you logged in twice? I just see another Kiana Duncan.
I'm not sure, am I? Let me see. Give me 1 minute.
Okay, it just went away, so you're good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. Okay, I have LaShawn Warren. Any questions or comments?
Still muted. Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's muting herself. Okay, thank you. And then Laverne Creighton. Any questions or comments?
Actually, yes, I got two questions. First one, mentioned earlier in the conference about employment. Who to contact about employment, or the person who does certificates, give out certificates.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time, Ms. Creighton. I'm not sure what certificates you're referring to.
Earlier in the meeting, I heard a person who does employment, and I forgot the number to that.
Oh, I think they were the navigator, the community navigator.
Right. I believe that they're talking about Mr. Ronnie Friday. So if you're looking to connect with WDI or Family Self-Sufficiency, you can contact the community navigator, Mr. Ronnie Friday. His number, are you ready?
Yes.
It's 202-579-0434. And his email is rfriday@dchousing.org. And for everyone on the call, I will certainly drop it in the chat as well.
Okay, what was the last 4 digits of the phone number? I couldn't quite get that.
0434.
Okay, I got it.
Okay,
thank you. And another question, I noticed that some of these units, especially in the 3-bedroom, has bars on the window. I want to know, will those be replaced during the renovation?
Bars on the windows. Oh, yeah. We have properties where there are ground floor units where there are bars on the windows. Those are for security, obviously, from the outside. When you say replace, do you want them put back or do you want them to be gone?
I'm just asking in general, will there be bars on the first floor units after the renovation?
The answer is I don't know. I think that generally speaking, we would prefer it if the world were safe enough not to have bars on the ground floor windows, but we'll make a note of it. And
okay.
I don't know.
Okay, and a third about the gates. Will the gates will be removed, or will they stay up?
The gates as part of the fence?
Yes. I know I live on the back end of the property, and I noticed the gate's always locked.
Oh, I don't know that. Don't know the answer to that question either. We just did. Commissioner Van Gossary mentioned earlier that we got some money and we did some work to improve the appearance of the fences. instead of having the curl top on them that looked like, with high security, we put little finials on it to make it look more decorative. That's not quite so much of a separation. But I don't know if the fence will be there in the long run or not. I don't know.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Creighton. We got it?
Yep.
Okay. All right, next I have, one second, sorry. All right, Laverne. Leonard Brown.
Yes,
Do you have
I'm
any
here.
questions or comments?
Well, basically, my only comment actually is, if I can receive that document you guys are speaking about.
The RIN notice, resident information notice.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll make sure you get one.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lita Robinson, questions or comments?
Could you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I have a question about the voucher. So, my question is, I guess that y'all don't have vouchers for the people that don't want to participate in the RAD program, and y'all don't.
Are you asking are vouchers available for people that don't want to participate?
Yes.
Okay, so the RAD program, the HUD program, does not, if we apply for RAD, we don't get vouchers. We don't get what we call tenant protection vouchers. Tenant protection vouchers come if we do what we call Section 18 demo dispo application, which means that we're proposing to take the property out of public housing, but not place it in Section 8, but simply take it out and do something else with it. Then the residents would be entitled to tenant protection vouchers for relocation. But under RAD, we don't get them. There is a provision a year after we close on the conversion of the property. There is an eligibility if you choose to apply for a voucher, but those vouchers are only available if we have them at the time you apply, and there's no guarantee they would be.
Okay.
So, and just to remind everybody, that time period, if we convert Potomac Gardens 700 and senior, by the time we would be asking you for your application for a mobility voucher, that might be 2.5 to 3 years from today. So it's a while.
Okay. And the second question.
Yep.
This has something to do with Ms. Barry, about the maintenance. If she can buzz in on this. I had put in for a work order for someone to come out to my house like 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and they still haven't got here. So it's either she can give me a call or let me know when she can be in the rental office, and we have a little distance, 6 feet distance, to talk about this, because this is an ongoing thing that's happening. And I mean, I understand everybody is busy and they are doing other things, and I'm a patient type of woman, but I really need to get this done because I'm tired of cooking in the dark.
Okay. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Robinson, I will give you a call tomorrow. And we can Thank you.
Thank you.
Melinda Charles, questions or comments?
Yes, good evening. I have two questions. My first question is oh my God, is recertification still in process? Are they still going on?
I don't know the answer to that. Is there anyone on the line that can answer that?
Was it Samandra or Dawn?
Yes.
You mean right now in
Yes,
terms of,
Barry.
or Miss Berry, I'm sorry.
Yes, Ms. Charles, recertifications are still happening. We're not doing in-person recertifications. However, we are mailing out packages, and I'm Once you get that back to us, we send that to the appropriate department, and then they respond back to you.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking this question is because I keep receiving the rent payment paper stating that my rent is one price, but during the time that I did my recertification and then the COVID-19 happened, I didn't receive any correspondence as to what my rent was, so I don't know where they got the number from. And now it's constantly building up because I have called down to housing to speak to someone in reference to that, and I want to stay in compliance with my rent. So I just needed to know, you know, what's going on with that.
Okay, with your recertification, your rent issue, I will reach back out with you tomorrow.
Okay, and also the package that everyone is talking about that they haven't received, I haven't received one as well.
We'll make sure you get one as well.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then for those that aren't on the chat, it looks like Ms. Boyd also mentioned that recertification packages are still being processed and residents will continue to receive a notice to recertify. Okay. All right. So Ms. Charles, is that all your questions?
Yes, that's all of my questions. I mean, I've done my recertification packet or whatever. So like I said, I just, you know, was just concerned about the letters that I'm receiving from housing stating that this is the amount of rent that I owe, but I haven't signed anything in regards to saying, okay, this is what my rent was, or any correspondence as to, you know, that the recertification process was complete and I will be receiving something. I just started receiving these papers, you know, stating that my rent was this a certain amount of money. And like I said, I haven't been working, so I don't know where they got this, you know, amount from. So that's my concern because I want to stay in compliance when it comes to my rent.
Gotcha. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we have Raynell Hall. Do you have any questions or comments?
LaShawn, they're still muted.
Oh, sorry about that. Raynell Hall.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, fine. I have a question about the process of moving when they start renovating or doing whatever they're going to do to the building. And I would actually like to know exactly what they were going to do to the building, being as though this is the last meeting. So we won't be hearing anything about how the construction will take place. And also, is there opportunity for you to move where you choose to move, or we have to be placed where you place us?
Okay, thank you. Boren, team, do you want to take the first question?
That would be an Alex question and answer, just because relocation doesn't house individuals.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question for me?
Oh, well, I'm not understanding the process of when the renovation start or the demolition work start, how far you guys are going to go. Are you turning it down to redo it, or are you just moving people around in the building to do certain things?
Oh, no. So, okay. So I'm going to use an example of a project we're working on now. Right now, we're working on starting a project at Judiciary House. And at Judiciary House, we think we're going to do a very similar project at your building. What we have to do is we have to go in and replace the services inside the walls, the electrical service, the plumbing, ductwork, things like that. And a lot of that stuff runs vertically through the building. It runs from the roof down to the basement. And the reason it runs that way is because that's how a lot of those utility feeds go. They run up and down through the inside of the walls. So in order for us to do the phased rehab, we have to relocate folks out of vertical tiers of units. So it might be unit 203, 303, 403, 503, 603, that kind of thing, going up and down through the building. What we would do.
Okay, so what about, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
about the people that's in the other units that's breathing the toxic air that's coming through our ventilation system as I speak? The oldness of the building is ridiculous to even try to patch up or do anything but totally demolish this place and rebuild it. I mean, that's the honest truth. And I'm quite sure when whoever you have started coming in to start making them steps that you just discussed, I'm going to let you know that. But when are we going to have enough time to know it in order for us to do something about it?
Okay.
When are we? What type of timelines are the tenants going to have to know what is the next stage to certain things that you're going to have taking place here?
Okay. So let me take that one step at a time. So I mentioned that we're doing what we call a physical needs assessment. We've hired a firm called Bureau Veritas, and they're a firm that does these assessments all across the country for housing authorities and colleges and universities and all kinds of different companies. They're going to come in and they're going to do an assessment of every property in our housing portfolio. Excuse me. And one of them will be Potomac Gardens. I don't know exactly when they're going to get there yet. We're waiting for them to give us their schedule. But we're going to go in there and we're going to look at a bunch of units in that building, and we're going to look at the common areas, the hallways and the lobby and the roof and all of that. And at the end of that process, they're going to give us a report and tell us everything that they think is, wrong with that building that needs to be fixed. And they're going to give us an estimate for how much they think it costs. When we get that estimate, then we're going to make a determination about how we can find the money to fix all of that. What I suspect very strongly is that you're going to find similar conditions to what we have found already at Judiciary House and LaDroit Senior and probably Garfield Senior and a lot of other senior high-rise buildings. The air quality that you're talking about, back in the day that this building was built, I'll just give you an example. It was not required that we provide fresh air directly to the apartment. When we built it, that wasn't required by code. So the air to your unit comes through the window. If you open the window, it comes under the door from the hallway. That's how those buildings are built. Okay. In the new code, we have to provide fresh air intakes to the units, and we will do that. But in order to do that, we have to go into the walls and open up the walls to put those services in, and it's going to cost a lot of money and it's going to take time. If you're concerned about your health currently, I think there are other things that you could do or should do to bring those to the attention of your manager and let them know.
I have things in my unit personally, Blu-ray. I have air control in here, but I also have, you have to understand the aging of the building, the processes of getting rid of rodents, all the poison that was put in the walls, all the, the what you call it, the stuff that the cement and the painting that they used to use way back then, what is it, asbestos and things like that that's been found on a regular basis in this building, and I understand that you're talking about the exterior, but I'm more concerned with the interior, in the walls, in the whole system, inside of from what you see, because things don't look as bad on the outside as it is actually on the inside that is affecting our air quality when the heat comes on, when the AC come on.
No, I'm not disputing that at all. I'm sure you're right. I think that on those issues, when we do the full rehab of the building, we're going to address all those issues. No question. Okay. But as I said, it unfortunately, this is a lengthy process, and we're at the beginning of the process.
That's fine. I just wanted to know when we were going to be aware of things that we're discussing right now, like what type of time frame, because things, when it start happening, it got to keep going. So we have to have a safety net in place for things like that that hiccup.
Right.
So
totally totally understand.
Okay, well, I'll just stay in tune to what's going on, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All righty. Next, we have a resident. You're logged in as resident. You have any questions or comments?
I do.
I'm sorry, we're having a time hearing you.
I do have some questions.
Okay.
So the first one is, will the sign-in list that you're collecting be submitted with the RAD application? That's the first one.
The signing list for this meeting?
Say it
Yeah,
again.
I believe so. Yeah, we're gonna
Yes.
put all of the notes, questions, and all of the documents from the meeting in with the
Okay.
application.
Okay. So will there, if need be, if the residents feel like they need some more clarification or understanding, will there be another meeting, for us to get some more understanding?
Yes.
If need be?
Yes, I think we're open to that. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
So, what are the I heard someone say something about some outside investors. So what are the incentives for the investors that will be investing in this RAD development?
Oh, sure. Well, that's easy. I can take that. So there's two basic ways. There's some free money that we can get. There are grants available and things like that. But the biggest ways that these renovation projects get funded is with a mortgage debt. So you take out a mortgage just like you take out a mortgage on the house, and the mortgage is based on the value of the property, right? You're fortunate in this case because Potomac Gardens is in a very upscale neighborhood of the District of Columbia. The value of the land will be higher than some of our other properties. So that's a good thing, right? That mortgage then has to get paid back, and it has to get paid back through the DC Housing Authority paying off the principal and interest on that loan. Okay. So that's the way the bank would make money off of this. And we can do that. We can earn through the RAD program a little bit more money than what we're operating the building with, and we can put aside money to pay that debt. The other way that an investor would make money is through what's called low-income housing tax credits. And the way that works is the DC Housing Finance Authority, which is a district department, issues 4% federal tax credits to us. And then we set up an entity to be the general partner of the project. And we solicit through a syndication agency, which is kind of a complicated way of saying a broker that can sell those credits. They sell it to people who have a lot of income to shelter their income, basically not pay federal taxes on that income. And they pay money for that, because it's worth it to them to not pay the taxes. So they pay the money to us instead of paying it to the government. And that money is used to fund the improvements in the building. And then we have to operate the building for those tax credits for a two renewable 15-year periods. So it's a total of 30 years minimum. And we have to operate that building and keep it in compliance, which basically means keep it in a good state of order, manage and maintain it properly, make sure that the income exceeds the expenses, and make sure that we're not creating any violations of code or any other issues. So there's kind of, in a way, you think about it, there's a good thing about the tax credits, even though private investment sounds scary. The good thing is now we've got somebody watching over us. So if you're worried about how is the housing authority going to do this, we're going to have investors above us who are going to be watching the store and making sure we operate the building correctly. Because if we don't, there'll be consequences to us. So it's another way for people to kind of keep, trust and verify DCHA. Okay.
Okay. So I heard you mention the 4%. So I just want to see if is that the same as the 4 or 4 versus 9%?
Yeah, that's the 4% that I was talking about. It's not competitive. So as long as there's credits available, we can apply for them on a rolling basis, and we get them automatically if we comply with the application process. The 9% credits are worth more money, but they're competitively issued. So if we go into that pool and we try to get 9%, we get more money if we get it, but we have to compete against all the big developers in DC for that money. And it's a very limited resource. And so it's less likely that we'd ever get one. It's not as good for us because we'd have to compete, and there's no guarantee in any given year we'd get an allocation. So we're probably going to go with 4 because 4% still generates income and money, but it's not something we have to compete against the big developers to get.
Okay, got you. So my next question is, what is DCHA's intention for acquiring a third-party investors?
What's our intention?
Yes. So I see a question in the chat box, which was going to lead to my question. Who would ultimately manage this property? Would it be the investor or would it be housing?
So we don't really know the answer to that yet. I think that it would be our intention as a first course of action to continue to manage the building as DC Housing Authority management. But we have to look at that because, you know, once you go into the private market, there are other interests involved, and they may push us to do something different. They may push us toward a private management. It could happen, and we'd have to make the case as to why DCHA should manage the property. But our intention at this point is to be the managers. That's our intention.
Okay, I think I have 2 more questions for you. Will the third-party investors be sought locally? Will you all look locally for these third parties, or you want to go out? How does that work?
So the low-income housing tax credit, the federal credit, is available to anyone who earned income in the United States and owes taxes to the U.S. government. So we don't typically limit the pool to just people in the DC, you know, in the district. It's available to anyone. Having said that, it's not limited against people in the district. I mean, people in the district can also invest in those pools and get the tax credit benefit. That is possible as well. Did you have a thought on that as to whether we should try to limit it or not?
I don't have a thought. I mean, I'm thinking, I mean, we have heard and read, generally when building or reconstructing, you all supposed to look local at the companies right here. And so I'm thinking that would be something that might be considered. So that's why I was asking.
I see. Well, certainly it would not be limited. You know, there's no preclusion against people in the district. Andrea, I want to make sure I don't get myself in trouble. Do you want to, I see you're unmuted. Do you want to say anything or?
No, I think we will, you know, look to make sure that we get, you know, the best deal, and it will most likely include local as well as others. We will not likely be limited to just local on this.
Right.
Okay. I do have one more question for you, but then I have a question for Ron Fisher and his family self-sufficiency team.
Okay.
So with this RAD conversion, tell us what is the difference in like right now our are pretty much based on our income. So it fluctuates up and down according to what we make or what we're not making. What's going to be different going into this in-house Section 8 under RAD?
What's going to be different under RAD?
Yes, as far as the income.
Okay. Well, I mean, from day to day, probably not a whole lot for you because you're gonna continue to pay 30% of your adjusted gross income in rent. There'll be a rent certification. There's no recertification for re-entering the building on RAD, but there will be periodic recertification for your income. The resident councils will continue to be funded the way they are now. Any relocation expenses you incur will be reimbursed by the DCHA or just taken care of without you even having to do anything. And you have the right to return to the building. So in that sense, there won't be a lot of difference.
Okay, so I think I may have asked the question in the wrong way. So
okay, go ahead.
when it comes to the income portion, is there going to be a cap as to how much rent we pay? Like right now, it's a cap pretty much. We pay what the market rate is here. But once we convert over to the Section 8, in-house Section 8, will that cap be moved up? Or I know I heard you all say over a period of time, but
okay, so you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but if you think you're paying a ceiling rent or a flat rent as opposed to a calculated rent, then what you should do is talk to your property manager, Rochelle Berry, and find out what that would mean for you. As Andrea Powell said earlier, if you're paying a flat rent, if it's just a flat rent and not calculated based on income certification, then there would be an adjustment over a period of 5 years to get you to a 30% adjusted gross income rent. So that might mean an increase. I don't know how much, but it would be factored in over a period of time, over 5 years. And if you think that applies to you, please don't tell us, because we don't need to know your personal information. But if you think that applies to you, you should talk to your property manager and get the full scoop. And we can provide her with the information so that she can get you up to speed on what that would mean.
So pretty much there is no difference between public housing subsidy and in-house Section 8 subsidy.
Not from your standpoint. From our standpoint, we can't operate the building as DCHA directly. We have to set up a general partner company, a limited liability entity that would run the building. So the building, instead of being owned by the DCHA, it might be called Potomac Gardens LLC or something like that. If we take on a partner, that partnership of the general partnership would be us and them together under this new organization. So you would see that. It might show up on your rent statement or something. Other changes for RAD, I'm trying to think if there's any other things you would notice on a day-to-day basis. And Andrea or Andre, if you want.
I'll just add, when we started RAD a couple of years ago, we actually did regulations to make it even more seamless than the way HUD does it. So we have taken as many steps as we can to make it as close to current public housing as possible. So we did some regulations a couple of years ago. So most of the things it will look the same to you in many respects.
Okay. Well, the last question is for Mr. Ronald and the self-sufficient group. So per the Housing Authority's website, it says that persons living in public housing did not qualify for family self-sufficiency program. I want to know why, if it's true. And then, because you all have mentioned this on the call, are you all opening the family sufficiency program up to residents within public housing?
Hi, this is Ron Fisher. So the answers to your question, I should say. The website is currently under construction, and the resident services section in particular is being updated. As far as FSS specifically, yes, we do work with public housing residents. In fact, there were a couple of people on this phone call that have either enrolled or been in contact with the FSS program over the past several weeks. We're continuing to work with the community navigator, as well as Office of Public Affairs, to go ahead and communicate that the FSS program is now actively enrolling public housing residents. And we're specifically working with individuals seeking to purchase a home. There are certain requirements, just because we are moving to work agency, and we have certain requirements that differ from a traditional FSS program. But that's where the team and I work to go ahead and educate people as much as possible about the pros and cons of the program, as well as educate them about other programs that are out there, particularly with some of our district partners, just because the district is flush with services that can assist in that particular realm. We can work with Mr. Friday to ensure that the residents of the property are aware of the program, as well as how to go ahead and inquire about more information.
That would be great. I really appreciate you explaining that to me. I was kind of disgruntled, saw it on the website, and you all weren't, or that public housing residents weren't able to enroll into this program. But thank you so much. I look forward to speaking with you about that.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
All.
LaShawn, you're still muted.
LaShawn, you're muted again.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for your questions that you just had for us. The next person I have unmuted is Timothy Donaldson.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is this Andrea that works at 1225?
I'm sorry?
Is this Andrea that works at 1225?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. Sound like it. My bad. Hey.
All
But,
good.
now, I have a few questions.
Okay.
Want to expound on what one of the ladies said a little while ago about the air quality. I was wondering when was the last time, or have y'all ever checked the air quality in this building? Because it's a fact that you pretty much poisoning people in this building. I don't know whether y'all know it or not, because you can see the poison coming out if you clean your house like I do, especially with a white cloth. You can see the black soot that comes out of this vent, and if it'll build up over a period of time if you don't wipe it down. So it's obvious that people are breathing this poison in this building. And I was wondering, do y'all ever do air quality checks in this building? And if you don't, it would be a good idea for you to do it, because people die in this building, like 3 or 4 people a year die in this building. I've been here since 2014, and I haven't seen anybody check their air or even say anything about it. Is it because none of the residents don't speak up, or they're not educated enough and you don't really care whether they know or not? Or is it, have y'all ever tried to find out if it's something wrong with the air in this building? That's my first question.
Gotcha. Does somebody from property management want to answer that? I'm unaware if there's been any air quality kind of testing or control.
Hi, LaShawn. This is
Go ahead, Ms. Boyd.
At this time, I do not believe there has been one, but I don't want to state no. I'll look into that and get back to you with an answer.
Yeah. Okay. I hope soon, because I don't use the central air unless it's absolutely necessary. I mean, like really hot, and my window air conditioner won't really do the whole apartment. And in the winter, I don't use the heat either, because I see. I'm telling you, this is how serious it is to me, that I'm wiping this black crap out of my room and out of this room just about every week, because it's piling up and it's coming out at a alarming rate. I don't know, how alarming that is to you, but to me and what I've seen people dying in this building, I think it's a problem, and y'all need to check into that. Right away, not when you get around to it, because it's a problem.
No, we definitely hear you, Mr. Donaldson. Yeah, it's a serious matter, so we'll definitely look into that and follow up with the residents.
Okay. But my other question is, I was trying to get a clear picture, because I hear y'all using words like renovation and new, but it's not really transparent enough information for me to measure the magnitude of how big this renovation is going to be. Because I've been in several renovations, right? Understand what I'm saying? I've been in the East Capitol Street, east of the river. East Capitol, I lived over there for 30 years. I was in 2 different renovations where I actually did the renovation myself in some units. Now, it's different levels of renovation. And some levels you do punch out work, you slap a little paint on the wall, you change the baseboard, and you call that renovation.
That's
now,
not
I want to know, is that the kind of renovation you're talking about? Or are you going to gut out these walls and take these dead roaches and dead mice out behind these walls, because there's plenty of them in there?
So let me answer your question. We're not going to point up the walls and put new baseboard on. That's not what we're doing. We're proposing, we're doing a physical needs assessment through an outside party, and whatever they say we have to do, we have to figure out a way to finance as a full renovation. So it's going to be comprehensive. I don't know if it's going to be what you'd call a gut rehab, where we're tearing out walls, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of walls end up getting torn out and rebuilt. I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. But okay, I think I read something on, I forgot where it was, one of these letters you sent, where it says that the units that you can physically see that require work, you would do the necessary repairs, and other units, the people will probably have to move out because it's probably going to be a little bit more involved in the renovation. So exactly what they mean by ones people who can stay while it's being renovated, and the ones who may have to leave out. What did you mean by that?
Okay, here's what I meant. When we have to do the big renovation, and you've done this before apparently,
Yeah.
so you would know, right?
Yeah.
A lot of in a high-rise building, a lot of the surfaces in the walls run up and down. They don't run side to side; they run vertically.
Right.
And so we have to do vertical tiers of units by phase, and depending on how the units line up, we might have to vacate 2 rows of units times the height of the building to get to the services inside the party wall. If we have to do that, then those folks, what we would do is we would make whatever vacant units are available in the building, we would clean them up and get them into a good condition. Put a new kitchen cabinet set in there, put a new appliance in there, get them into a good state, not the full rehab, but just a temporary place to be. And you would move over to that unit with your furniture and clothing, live there for about half a year while we gut those other units and do the full renovation. And then those folks would move back with the moving all covered by us, by DCHA. We would help move your stuff. And then when those make ready units, is what I call them, when they're ready again, we would move the next group in. They would live in those hospitality or make ready units for 6 months, then while their units are being done. And we just keep going around the building tier by tier.
Okay. Now, while we're still on that particular subject, are you aware that they have probably hundreds of rat tunnels under this building? Are they going to do anything about these tunnels? Because they haven't gone anywhere. Trust me, they're still down there. In the
underground.
Yeah, underneath this building, there are rat tunnels, and they've been here for a while.
Okay, so I think property management and operations has a team now that does rodent abatement, and Ms. Boyd or perhaps the property manager could talk about that. I don't know how far out we go from the building wall, like if we actually get into like baiting and bombing the ground, or if we just do it when they come in, but maybe they could talk to that. And I wasn't aware that they're tunnels, but I'm sure they get around, right? Rats figure out how to get around underground.
Oh,
So.
I'm quite sure they are, though, because there was a terrible rat problem in this building some years ago before I moved in, and they were falling out the ceiling. That's how bad it was. Don't ask me how I got to that point and nobody did anything, but I pretty much got a good idea why it got that bad, but I'm not trying to be here if it started to happen again, because the tunnels are still there. They're just waiting to be occupied. But
they're not falling out of the ceiling now, are they? That's not happening now, right?
Not right now, but
I'm serious. Yeah. Okay. Just making sure.
The air ducts. Are they going to replace these air ducts in this building? Because if you don't replace the air ducts, there's no need in renovating the building if you're going to still pump poison through the air ducts. That's one of the questions. Are they going to, during the renovation, are they going to remove these old air ducts or clean them thoroughly? I understand it's difficult to clean the air ducts in a large complex like this, but if you don't do the entire system, there's no point in vacuuming the front of the vents and then claiming that the air ducts are clean. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I got you. So I'll use an example of what we're doing at Judiciary House, which we're starting now. We are going to clean the ducts, and then we are going to air seal them from the inside. There's a new process that be 5 or 6 years old where you pressurize the duct and then you blow a latex sealant through the inside to seal all the cracks. Right. And that keeps roaches, rodents, and other things from getting in. It keeps all the air from leaking out. And I think we might do a similar thing. And if that isn't enough, then we would just replace them completely.
So I understand you said that this building wasn't designed for fresh air to circulate through it. It's actually recycling air in here. That's what you're saying?
What it means is in the 1960s, the building code required you to have a pressurized hallway. They had air in the hall supplied into the building, and then it would leak under the door.
Right.
And then your other means of ventilation was to open the window and let the outside air come in.
So,
Under the current code, it's not enough. If you built this building today, you would have to introduce a small amount of outside air directly into the units through a ducted system.
right.
And so that's the new code. And so when we bring the building, because we had this happen at Judiciary in Ledroit, we put the plans in, and the first thing that we started looking at when we did the rehab work there is you can't just bring the building up to the 1960 code. You got to bring it up to the modern code. And so we would do the same thing here. That's an absolute.
So it's just right now, it's just recycled air then, right?
Well, mostly. Although, if you open the window, you get fresh air, but it's not a system. It's just you doing it when you feel like doing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm using my windows.
Right. And you should.
Okay. Let me see. Make sure this is everything. Okay. In the event that I decide that I don't want to move back in this unit, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I don't want to stay in the temporary unit. Is there anything, any way that you could be involved in helping an individual to move to, say, a new apartment complex, privately owned, that's supposed to supply a certain percentage of affordable housing for low-income people? You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
The new complexes that coming up.
So the RAD process does not give us tenant protection vouchers, which is one of the ways you could get that. You could get a voucher, and that would allow you to go out in the market and find another building that took vouchers. We're not getting those with RAD. The other things you could do, you can apply for a transfer. If you don't like living at the building you're in, you could apply for a transfer, and we could show you other units in the DCHA portfolio. But there's a waiting list for that, so we might not get to you right away.
Okay.
And I don't know. I know there may be other options, but I'm not sure what they all are, and I don't know if someone from PMO would like to talk about what else may be available, or perhaps you'd like to talk to your property manager offline about that.
Yeah. Okay. Cause when I moved in here, I was on SSI, making about $700 a month, something like that.
Well, you don't have to tell it. Well, okay, you don't have to tell us that. But
I'm not
it's okay.
tripping off. I understand.
No.
It's a little it's a little more information than you actually want to hear. But I was just
I got you.
That was for the first 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've been working with Purple Line Project that's going on in Maryland, the one that's getting ready to shut down.
Right.
But, for the last 2 years, I've been making about $50,000 a year, and my rent went up to $600. I'm saying, under those
Mr. Donaldson,
Yes.
This is for your sake, not mine. But I think this is a recorded public meeting. I don't think you want to necessarily tell everybody your business. So I think what you might want to do. I get the idea, but I think LaShawn, unless you have another question about the project or the property, I think we might want to move on. I want to protect your privacy.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. But thank you for your comments. I appreciate it.
And Mr. Donaldson, just really quickly, Ms. Boyd has let us know that twice a year they have an RSC, their contractor which is the contractor who conducts preventative maintenance on the air vents, which consists of changing the filters and cleaning the vents. So that is in response to your the air quality question.
So they're working on cleaning the vents. That's what you said?
They clean the vents and change the air filters twice a year.
Yeah, because I haven't seen the cleaning part. I've seen the little 3/4 inch filters that they put in there, which is probably not doing much. but
Mhm.
I don't see the cleaning. I don't know who imagined that. I haven't seen any ducts being cleaned in this building.
Sure. And we'll provide an update in just terms of if there's any additional steps that property management will take in terms of, or maintenance will take in terms of that.
So, LaShawn, I just want to, we have a comment in the chat. Commissioner Van Gossary would like to make sure that it's past 8 o'clock and that everyone who lives at 700 gets a chance to ask their questions. So we might want to move it along.
Oh, I'm talking too much. Okay.
Well,
my bad.
you know, I'm sorry, but I think we want to give everybody a chance, sir. I'd be happy to.
It's
Okay.
no problem. I understand.
Okay.
No problem, partner. I
Yeah,
appreciate your answers. You know.
Yeah, no problem. It seems like we've taken away the 3 to 5 limit for everybody else. So it's just in terms of trying to be fair, we just want to allow everyone to have their time. Vivian Lofty, do you have any questions or comments? Okay. No. Okay, she remuted herself. And then I have one caller. I don't have a proper name saved. I'm just going to go ahead and unmute your line. You're unmuted. If you haven't called your name and you have a question or comment, you're unmuted. Okay, I'll go ahead and mute that line. And then if there's anyone that I omitted, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, you can do so at this time. I'm going to go ahead and unmute the 2 lines of the 2 numbers that I have here with no names. If you have any questions or comments, now will be the time to share.
Yes, my name is Ron Walters, and the last time that we talked, I talked to Mrs. Berry about my transfer to the 2nd floor. She said she would call me in the office, and I haven't seen her yet.
Okay, Ms. Berry, do you know who the resident is, and are you able to follow up with her?
Yes.
Walters.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Berry is on the line and will follow up with you following this meeting.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I had another caller. I just unmuted you. You're calling from 202-910. Did you have a question or comment? Okay, and if there's anyone else that was omitted that did not have the opportunity to ask a question, you may unmute yourself and do so now. Okay. All right, we just want to thank everyone again for joining the meeting. We know this was a pretty lengthy meeting tonight, so we appreciate you staying on and asking your questions and providing your feedback. Our next steps will be to include the responses to your questions, as well as transcribe the questions and responses that you heard tonight. It likely is around a 2 to 3 week process, so please bear with us as we get that document together to provide to you all. That will be a document that is hand delivered. We've also heard your request to receive the resident information notice. We have that with the property management team, and they will make sure that you are in receipt of that. Any additional kind of updates or things that come out of this meeting, we will make sure we provide in the packet. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to give us shoot us an email so that we can address them properly at the transformation plan. It's just transformation plan at dchousing.org, or you may call the voicemail line where we will have either myself or another staff member give you a call back at 202-996-8526. Are there any other comments from staff before we
I have one.
dismiss?
Just one thing. In the chat box, Dawn Boyd reminded me that the property manager, Ms. Berry, would not know the amount of the increase from a flat rent to a calculated 30%. That is correct. She wouldn't know that. But I think that Ms. Berry would know the amount of the flat rent, and she'd be able to confirm if somebody thinks that they're paying a flat rent, whether they are or not. And then from there, we could have further conversations about what that might mean. So it wouldn't be all on her to answer that question.
That's correct, Mr. Moore.
Just to clarify.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments from DCHA staff before we dismiss for the night? All right, thank you again. Oh, and I think I missed a caller, but I don't see it on there. Okay, I was thinking the caller, but you must have disconnected. So I think we got everyone. So thank you again, and have a wonderful evening. Oh, I'm sorry. One before we dismiss, D. Turner, you have a question?
Yes, I do. I want to know if the residents have a say as to whether or not we want to move forward with the RAD thing.
With the conversion?
You always have a say, and if you want to voice your opinion now, you may, and you have a commissioner in your building, and I'm sure you can let her know. And the board meetings are public, so if you are interested in providing testimony at the meeting, either in favor or against, that's your right. So you always have that right.
Okay, thank you. When is the next board meeting, please?
The next board meeting,
I'm looking at my calendar too.
it is in October, and I think I'm looking at it's the 14th. 14th of October.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. All right, and that'll be our last question for the evening. Thank you all, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you.